I'm gonna take care of that smelly, greasy, nasty animal. And I'm gonna get you too, Rhino.
Like this video, subscribe, and turn on notifications. And once you're done, leave a comment saying that I subscribed, and you will be replied to. We'll be doing as many as we can. Pranks in WWE, also known as ribs, are incredibly common and happen all the time, and have been happening all throughout pro wrestling history. Let's take a look at some of the coolest ones. I'm D-Wicket, and these are the 10 best WWE ribs of all time. Number 10, The Tonight Show. Ahmed Johnson is... He's big, he's black, he's kind of scary looking. He's probably Vince McMahon's wet dream, in all honesty, but since I didn't watch in the 90s and he's not Steve Austin, Bret Hart, or The Rock, who really cares? Ahmed Johnson was pranked once by being told that he was appearing on The Tonight Show with Jay Leno. Poor guy bought a $4,000 suit and waited outside of his apartment for about 30 minutes before the quote-unquote limo that was running late never showed up. Number 9, X-Pac shits in Sable's bag. Well, that's a step in a different direction. X-Pac is notorious for 3 things: insane nuclear heat to the level of the phrase X-Pac heat being coined, nearly tearing his asshole open with a botched Bronco Buster, and being a dickhead prankster. Sable was a bit of a biatch backstage, and X-Pac didn't take too kindly to her attitude. He handled it by putting an actual piece of shit in her purse for her flight home after a tour. That is lovely.
Halloween Havoc, strangest place you ever dropped a deuce?
Let me say the strangest place I ever dropped a deuce. In a fucking, Wendy's cup to deposit it in somebody else's bag.
Number 8, Dean in the briefcase. Remember when Dean Ambrose stole Seth Rollins' Money in the Bank briefcase? Well, of course, that was all scripted, and what eventually happened was scripted too, but as a prank, Dean messed with the script Rollins received for this segment when he opened up the briefcase. Apparently, there wasn't supposed to be much in it. He was just gonna, open the briefcase, and contract was gonna be in there, all normal, blah. This kind of explains Seth's reaction when this happens. 7, X-Pac's eyebrows. Oh, poor X-Pac. He's a prankster, but he also gets pranked sometimes. The Smoking Guns showed this by shaving off X-Pac's eyebrows while he was drunk one night. That's pretty good. But it's the timing that counts, as the very next day, as X-Pac had a promo shoot the very next day. I wonder why we've never seen those pictures.
The court jester,
Right.
I was trying to fit in, and so I would rib everybody, and I got ribbed. I got my eyebrows shaved off. I don't know. We talked about that already, didn't we?
I can't remember, but who shaved your eyebrows off?
Well, I always thought it was Smoking Guns, Billy and Bart. And because it was my first road trips, in WWF.
Yeah.
And I was with Kurt Hennig gobbles me up because we're on the same flight and everything. Plus, I'd known him.
Yeah.
And I got really messed up, and I think I threw up on the woman in the backseat of the car and everything.
Of course.
Number 6, a kick for good measure. Does this count as a rib? Well, if there's anything to go off their encounters after the match, no. But does it seem like it definitely was a little bit of a prank of sorts on Brock Lesnar's part? Yes, he's scary. What I'm referring to, of course, would be when Hardcore Holly sandbagged Lesnar during a power bomb, which means, you don't help your opponent and you just make them do all the heavy lifting. And Lesnar didn't take too kindly. He just fucking dropped him on his neck. That's brutal, but the aptly titled kick for good measure afterwards, that's fucked, Brock. That's fucked up. Number 5, Al Snow's expose. What do we want? Head. How does the mannequin head not feature somewhere in a prank? Unfortunately, no fake blowjob pranks with a creepy fucking thing. That's lost potential right there. Instead, Bob Holly had Al Snow in a suplex where he had the creepy man above his head for an unnecessarily long amount of time. Apparently, Bob knew what Brock would one day do to him and decided to get back to him in advance by pranking Al Snow in this moment by exposing his genitals to the live crowd for a while.
Jack Rains from WrestlingClassics.com. What is Bob's side of the story about the night he pranked Al Snow by exposing him to the audience? It is mentioned in Mick's book, Foley is Good.
I was sitting there and Mick told me, he goes, I know how you can get to Al.
If I'm not mistaken, it was a suplex,
yes.
Right? And when you went up, you hooked the shorts
Yeah,
over.
because he didn't wear any undertights or anything like that. And I held him. He was kicking, trying to get down, and I held him. I wouldn't let him go.
Pulled the shorts aside to expose his full genitalia,
Yes.
and just held him in the suplex
Needless to
position.
say, he didn't manicure, didn't trim, didn't do any of that, so it looked like a little killdeer egg in there, in a bird's nest.
You know, whether it was, Al Snow, here's a little Canadian story, Al Snow being lifted high into the mid-November hockey arena air after Bob Holly had, at my suggestion, pulled one part of his singlet from to the other part of his body. And
Number 4, Cole's awkward introduction. Michael Cole is pretty bad at commentary, but to be fair, it's not his fault. In all actuality, he's a pretty decent commentator. It's just WWE's awful commentary system that makes him come across as such a repulsive waste of talent. His first job was originally Renee Young's current gig, being the backstage interviewer. His first interview was going to be for Owen Hart and the British Bulldog, which is really unfortunate as they're two of the most infamous WWE pranksters of all times. So as it was about to begin, the duo took a liter of Coke and poured the whole thing down the newbie's pants. Just as they went live, Cole handled it, in all fairness, impressively well, earning the respect of the locker room in doing so.
You're going to be humiliated even worse when you step in the ring with Bulldog and myself, because with the Godwins, it's just a couple of stupid hillbillies.
All right, and there it is.
Here it is.
And again,
oh, look at that. Oops, I missed. I flopped them.
only a hillbilly could
Bunch
do that.
of stupid Americans.
It's our time.
Wait a minute. Our party.
You go to the ring. Stone Cold Steve Austin, who is set, ladies and gentlemen, to join us at any moment.
Number 3, the Clique welcomes Jerry Lawler. Jerry Lawler refers to himself as the King, so, he's a little bit arrogant. When he came to the WWF, he was leaving his career in Memphis, where he really was the goddamn king. Now, not just being the biggest draw in the territory, but also being a top booker of the territory. When he stepped through Vince's doors, he expected the same treatment he had been used to, not unlike a real king, and the Clique, they weren't too big of fans of this. So, they poured shit in his crown on a random work night. That's... What's up with shit with all these pranks?
You remember when Lawler first came in and somebody shit in his crown?
I watched the door.
Percy watched the door. You know who did it?
That was a fabulous thing to do, wasn't it?
Stephen Kern.
Where's Steve Kern now? He's an agent for the WWE.
It was great.
The king had shit in Kern's paycheck envelope for
Not
years.
just Kern.
So,
Not just Kern.
Number 2, X-Pac puts shit in Mark Henry's burger. God, is X-Pac just really uncreative? I mean, he's a prankster, no doubt about it, but that's the third prank he's been involved in that's also involved turds. Why, X-Pac? Is it because of the X-Pac heat? Is it getting to you? Well, something was getting to you, and that something was Mark Henry's nonsense. Much like Lawler, Henry came into the WWF with arrogance, not for previous pro wrestling work, but for being a goddamn Olympian. And hey, props, but you can't be too much of a dickhead without X-Pac finding a dog turd and putting it inside of your burger. And number 1, Yokozuna on a plane meets laxatives. That sounds like the plot of a horror movie. A man too big to possibly fit inside a small airline bathroom given a drug forcing all of the shit inside of his body out of his body on a goddamn plane. A little small, tight, compressed vehicle, tin can floating in the sky. Oh my god, these poor people in this little fucking plane. Mr. Perfect. Oh, Mr. Perfect. He was not just the perfect wrestler, he was also the perfect prankster. Click like, subscribe, and check out the D-Wicket channel so X-Pac doesn't put shit in your burger.